Good evening, everyone. Please grab a seat. We're going to start in 1 minute. Thank you.
Ask them to turn off the house music.
And if the person in charge of the house music can hear this, can you please turn that down? Thank you. Can't tell them to turn it down. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to our Gala, Legacy of Light, celebrating our 90th anniversary as a congregation, and also recognizing the significant and indelible contributions of our Rabbi Ita Paskind. I am your MC this evening for this portion only. My name is Andrew Moss, and I feel like this is a significant promotion for me because at last year's gala, I was actually in the school wing serving cocktails out of a closet, right, the nursery school side. For those of you that may not have been in the speakeasy in the school wing, Attorney General, we also had a liquor license too, I promise. I volunteered to make 7.5 gallons of signature cocktails, and we had a slight miscommunication with the mashgiach. So, in any case, I still got a promotion. So, as we come to celebrate as a community, we're very blessed to have some special guests with us this evening. So please join me in welcoming United States Senator representing our great state of Connecticut, Senator Richard Blumenthal. We are also joined by our Connecticut State Attorney General and my former North Stamford neighbor, William Tong. And we are also joined by our Mayor of Norwalk, Harry Rilling. Oh, I see the mayor back there. Great. So before we get into the program, planning and running an event like this takes an enormous amount of energy and commitment. And there are many volunteers who helped, but I do want to recognize the leaders of this affair. So our gala, and please hold your applause to the end. Our gala co-chairs, Sharon DeFala, Marguerite Felsenfeld, and Stephanie Gordon. Okay, go ahead and applaud. They deserve applause. Our VP of Fundraising, Barrett Lester. Thank you, Barrett. Our auction chairs, Hillary Chaffetz and Josh Lander. Thank you for bidding, they say. Video creation that we'll see shortly, Barrett Lester and Sarah Bernstein. And thank you to our millionaires who funded the video. Our decorations were led by Kate Greenberg and Allie Hurwitz. Thank you. None of this would not be possible without the expert leadership and support of our executive director, Jody Deach. Thank you, Jody. And finally, you all should not be surprised that our honoree this evening has set the gold standard in terms of her participation on the committee and the time that she has spent. Thank you, Rabbi Paskind. Okay, so let us get things started. I'm very pleased to call up our first speaker. Once again, United States Senator, the Honorable Richard Blumenthal.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited and honored to be with you again. I've been at this occasion and others at this synagogue. My own synagogue in Stamford, Beth El, has recently found a new rabbi who is a classmate from Columbia of your rabbi. So I feel we have something more in common than we did before. But obviously what we have most in common is a strong feeling about the importance of faith and institutions of faith, our faith, in this increasingly troubled and challenging world. And so I just want to say to you how grateful I am to you for keeping faith, for your support for Israel. I will stand in solidarity with Israel today, tomorrow, forever, as we must here at this time. And beyond just the military arms, which I have championed for as long as I've been in the United States Senate, 13 years, and before as a member of the Armed Service Committee, and the intelligence alliance that we have with Israel, beyond the national security reasons for our alliance, obviously we have bonds of faith and feeling. I have a cousin who is at this moment on the front in the IDF. I have other family there, so do many of you. And so we have, as a nation, an unbreakable bond with Israel. We can disagree about military tactics, we can disagree about issues of real concern, but we have to be in strong support of Israel, in my view. And likewise, here in this country, the dangers of anti-Semitism and white supremacy, Islamophobia, anti-Asian kinds of sentiment are on the rise, but most particularly anti-Semitism on our campuses. I'm not here to deliver a lecture, but I do believe that institutions have a memory. Synagogues have a memory and a wisdom that consists in its people of the knowledge, as this one was formed before the Holocaust, about what builds toward danger to our community. And so I am here to congratulate and thank you for 90 years, but more for your consciousness and your dedication. 90 years, could be 100 years. The numbers don't matter as much as the kind of faith and allegiance and dedication that you have shown over those many, many years. And so I want to commemorate this occasion by presenting a certificate of special recognition, which is to you, but most particularly to Rabbi Paskind, in honor of her 10th year as a leader of this congregation. Before I call her up, I want to make a shameless pitch for my auction item. That's my real reason for talking to you. You know, you'll find it in the back there, and it is breakfast with me in the Senate dining room, a tour of the Senate, and most particularly a chance to go down to the floor of the Senate where no one is allowed, and we're not supposed to bring anyone from outside the Senate. In fact, not even staff are allowed to go there without a motion on the floor of the Senate. But we will take that tour, have breakfast, and take the tour. And it's actually a great learning experience, you know, for adults, most particularly for children. I love doing it with kids who have an interest in government because, we get to go to the deaths of people that they've read about and mine as well. And just to let you know, it is on me, not the taxpayer. And it's good as long as I am a United States Senator. I was just reelected about 2 years ago. As you know, we have 6-year terms, so you've got at least 4 years, maybe longer if I'm lucky. I hope that you'll bid on it and all the other auction items because you are supporting a great synagogue. I'm, as I mentioned earlier, endlessly grateful and very, very supportive of you and all that you are doing in this community and the support that you're providing, whether it's to Israel or college campuses, anywhere that the challenges are greatest. I know you are there. So I'd like to call up your rabbi. I feel a little odd calling the rabbi up here. Fortunately, in our faith, there's no such thing as excommunication. Rabbi, you're doing wonderful work. I'm very proud to know you. Your family should be very proud of you. I know your parents are here from New Jersey. Thank you for coming. You're a great example and a model for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Senator Richard Blumenthal. I'm now very pleased to call up our State Attorney General, William Tong.
So did you get that? Vote for Blumenthal or no food for you. Great to be with all of you. Thank you, Jody, for bringing me here this evening. And Rabbi Paskind, congratulations to you on your 10th year. I learned that Rabbi Paskind is the 8th rabbi in the history of this synagogue, over 90 years. So you've had some longevity, and hopefully Rabbi Paskind will be with us for a great deal longer as well. I'm the 25th Attorney General. That guy was the 23rd Attorney General. Whenever I'm introduced as the Attorney General, I feel Senator Blumenthal flinch for a second. But it's great to be with him and to have such an incredible mentor. I will say I don't have a silent auction item, but I'm reminded. So I was a state legislator from Stanford for 12 years, a long time. And when I first got elected, Steve Lander, I think, was at Agudath Shalom. And he said to me, Representative, you have to give us a silent auction item. So I said, all right, yeah, whatever. I'll cook Chinese food for people, which I knew would be a big hit. So I just said, I'll cook Chinese food for people. And he took it and ran with it. And now it's a thing all over Connecticut. People want me to offer my cooking skills for usually a Jewish synagogue silent auction. So Jody, it's probably too late for this year, but next year, right?
No, it's good. You're good.
It's good. All right, for this year. But make sure you bid it up, at least more than for the breakfast.
The auction closes Monday at 5.
Oh, there you go. So I'll come wrap dumplings at your home. Does that sound good? I'll teach you how to wrap dumplings. So on a very, very serious note, let me echo what Senator Blumenthal said so well and so strongly, that all of us must stand strong with Israel and must stand strong with Israel against terror and for Israel's peace and security. Let me also say that I know, all of us know, that there's a lot of pain and suffering of people in Israel, particularly the families of hostages and the hostages themselves and soldiers. And there's a lot of pain and suffering in this room because of it, and family and relatives. And I'm not a federal official, so I don't have a frontline ability to weigh in on these issues. But as your Attorney General, it's my job to keep us safe and protect each and every one of you from hate. And we know that anti-Semitism is the oldest hatred on earth. And so I just want everyone to know that in my role as your Attorney General, we will do everything and use every power and authority in my office to protect everyone in this state against hate, but to protect all of you and your families and everyone of the Jewish faith from anti-Semitism in this state. And if that should happen to you or your family, or you should encounter it, please call my office and we will take action. That's our solemn commitment to all of you. And if we stick together and fight for each other and stand with each other, we'll get through this and keep each other safe. Thank you.
So Sharon DeFala is the one who asked me to be the MC this evening, and she said, Andrew, I know you can keep this on track and keep us moving. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here. She's in Europe. As soon as the program's over, I'm going to send her a text apologizing because Senator Blumenthal just reached over to me and said, hey, can I go say one more thing? And I can't say no to Senator Blumenthal once again.
I just want to make a pitch for Attorney General Tong's auction item. You know, if I were given a choice, the Senate dining room or Chinese food, I'd go with William Tong's Chinese food any day. And I think he can do it kosher. But also, I just want to say how much I appreciate his leadership. I was Attorney General for many years, and we're all hesitant to say that someone can do the job better. So I'm not saying that, but William is doing a great job. And I also want to thank Mayor Rilling and his beautiful wife for being here tonight. And again, my thanks to all of you. And I just want to make sure, bid on William Tong's thing, but just make sure that the closing bid on his is not higher than mine.
Okay, I'm going to keep things moving now, and I'm very pleased to invite up our congregation's president, Keith Satter.
How do I follow these two? I'm so delighted to be here tonight and join each of you in this celebration. 90 years young, that's an incredible accomplishment for any organization. And along with congratulating all of us, I also want to congratulate our Rabbi Ita Paskind for being honored here tonight for her selfless service to Congregation Beth El. In a few minutes, David Lowenberg will have a lot more to say, so I want to move on to something else. In a few minutes, you're going to see an amazing video of Beth El memories produced by Barrett Lester and Sarah Bernstein. Joining me in the narration is our past president, Reva Silverman, who, I might add, could have a second career doing voiceover narration. What I want to do is spend my remaining few minutes talking about what Beth El means to me. Like some of you tonight, I'm a Beth El kid. I grew up in this very room, and looking around tonight, I'm reminded of the many, many good times I spent here. And when I look out over the sanctuary, 4 very special places come to mind. To your right, my left, over in the corner here, is our piano. It's generally not used, and not much takes place in that very little corner over there. However, in September of 1958, the synagogue was so pressed for classroom space that my first religious school class was taught in that very corner. Cy Sugarman was the teacher. They taught us the Shema in Hebrew and the V'ahavta in English. Now, second place. We always say that COVID was the reason electronics made it into our Shabbat and Yom Tov services. However, I want to set the record straight tonight. It was December 1963, and just a few days before my bar mitzvah. I had purchased a Wollensack reel-to-reel tape recorder, and I convinced Cantor Herman, and I assume Rabbi Schwartz, to let me turn it on Friday night, and all he had to do was push the record button. So it was nestled right over in there, and when it was all done, I had a tape of my entire bar mitzvah. It's somewhere in my presidential library, but I confess I haven't seen it for a long time, and if I do, I suspect the tape would fall right apart in my hands. Far in the back of the room, in our chapel to the right side, you'll notice some wooden beams in the ceiling. I suspect they're covering up the tracks of movable walls that allowed for 2 or more rooms to be made in the back. The right side was where minyan was held very frequently. And I remember being a kid at post-bar mitzvah in religious school. We were here Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, in the Monday, Wednesday afternoons. And I remember being in religious school, and the rabbi would poke his head in the room, about 20 of 6, and say, "Keith, can I borrow you for a few minutes?" Well, I knew what that means. This meant I was number 10 for minyan that day. Meanwhile, minyan ran beyond the 6 o'clock end of Hebrew school, and my mom would be left sitting in the car waiting for me, never sure where I was. And she was never too happy about this, sensing dinner would be late. My only response to her was, "Mom, how could I tell the rabbi no?" And after that, anybody know who knew my mom, she was speechless. She had nothing else to say. Finally, right over where this screen is, on the center of the bima, is May 29th, 1966, my confirmation class. 12 of us having spent Sunday mornings studying with Rabbi Schwartz at his house. And I actually still have the program from that afternoon. Irving Gallup was the president, but Stephen White's past president handed out the certificates. Yes, this room and just about everywhere in this building is a very special place for me, and I'm so glad to have been a part of it. Now enough of me. Please turn your attention to the screen to my left as we watch the 90th year celebration video.
opportunity to be here.
Chapter, who was instrumental. She became the chairman of the building fund when we were renovating. She was a dynamo. She raised everybody who joined. I give to the building fund, and she made sure that everybody did.
People at Beth El are very fabulous and very knowledgeable. As a matter of fact, Dorothy Brin taught me Hebrew, and I took a mission class with the rabbi for over 6 years, and it's just a very warm and loving place.
Grew up here. I was bar mitzvahed here. I was married here. It's part of my life and a second home. When I came back from college and made my home here in Norwalk, I got married. My wife and I became members.
I have this shooting experience. I guess one of the most exciting things was Steve told me he was super.
Year 2000.
This will be our grandson was being born in school, and I got a call that we had to come to New York, but we couldn't leave until after Steve gave me the deal. What's more important? Kids don't get any place in school. I love Hebrew school. I'm still friends with my Hebrew school friends. I went to public school, actually all of it, but I faced a lot of anti-Semitism. And to me, Beth El was my second home. It was a place where I was accepted, where I was safe, where I could be myself.
It wasn't until Sidney Birnbaum became our teacher. Perhaps I was in first grade or second grade, and he came in and he was excellent. Actually, it gave me a desire to learn more about Jewish history and other Bible lessons. So Sidney Birnbaum was a great influence.
Sad times were happy times. Our congregation was always with us, and it was both a joy to celebrate with them and comforting to mourn with them. It's nice to never feel like you're alone.
My father and I would sit in the back of the shul, in the last pew, in the rear. And there would be a lot of kids going on during the prayer service. It was always a standing joke. Lenny Schwartz would make believe he's going out to prepare sandwiches for us on Yom Kippur.
Philip Rosen, oh my goodness. He made that evening come alive with the breakfast and the story, and always complimentary. Marty Wolf also made breakfast for me for years. We arrived when Donald Crane was the rabbi, and the first couple we met that welcomed us with open arms were Shar and Chuck Stavinsky.
These include Rabbi Williams and Goldberg, Andrew Bever, Pastor Zoom, and then Ron and the
He helped bring Rabbi Fish into our synagogue. In the late 90s, Leo called a meeting of all the past presidents
older than America, and constantly new and challenging.
We are fortunate recipients of the gift bequeathed by those long-ago forebears.
And we are the trustees who carry this treasure forward, adding our own wisdom and light, nourishing these precious ideals for future generations.
Thank you again, Barrett Lester and Sarah Bernstein. That was amazing. All right. Please join me in welcoming our first vice president and also my current neighbor, David Lowenberg.
It feels so awkward to be on this side of the bima. See how we do. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to honor our honoree, Rabbi Ita Paskind, with a few words. Okay, maybe more than a few words. Rabbi Paskind, this is not your bat mitzvah anniversary here at Congregation Beth El of Norwalk, but nevertheless, we still have a beautiful gift for you. A vase inscribed with today's date and a verse from the book of Proverbs, chapter 36, verse 9, "By your light do we see light." You are not eligible for a Kiddush cup, I'm sorry to say, so we'll have to wait a few more years for that one. In thinking about how best to celebrate our rabbi, I initially thought about her love of Israeli dance, going all the way back to her days in Shalhevet, the Columbia Barnard Israeli dance troupe. How much she relishes dancing Ushafte Mayim after the 7th Hakafa and Simchat Torah. And I wondered how I might choreograph an interpretive Israeli dance that best reflected our feelings for our beloved rabbi. Thank you for your laughter. That's exactly why I quashed that idea. We also know how much Rabbi Paskind loves to play music and sing. It is plainly evident how she shares musical joy when she leads services. I wonder if she even knows that every time we sing, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, she automatically begins to snap her fingers to the beat. Did you notice? I do. But given my inability to play guitar or another useful instrument, and given that the two instruments I do play competently, the kazoo and the shofar, are neither of them great for group singing, I decided against a musical tribute as well. But fear not, fellow congregants and distinguished guests, we know full well that when it comes to Rabbi Paskind, there are many avenues of tribute. So I quickly moved on to the next, and truthfully, the best option to toast our rabbi. Here is a text from the Mishnah. Yehoshua ben Parachia v'nitai ha'arbeli kiblu mehem. Yehoshua ben Parachia omer, aseh lecha rav uknei lecha chaver, v'hevei dan et kol ha'adam lechaf zichut. Rabbi Dr. Joshua Kulp, senior scholar at the Conservative Yeshiva in Jerusalem, translates Mishnah Pirkei Avot, chapter 1, Mishnah 6, this way. Joshua ben Parachia and Nitai the Arbalite received from them. Joshua ben Parachia used to say, appoint for thyself a teacher and acquire for thyself a companion, and judge all men with the scale weighted in his favor. Let me offer a bit of commentary on this text. The word chaver translates in modern Hebrew to friend or companion, but in rabbinic Hebrew, it actually means a study partner, a chevruta. The rabbis of the Mishnah were focused on learning from teachers, learning from peers, and indeed learning from students. This was their idyllic form of friendship. Rabbi Paskind is our teacher. She is our study partner, and she is happy and willing to learn just as much from us as we learn from her. She teaches text, she teaches prayer, she teaches song and dance, sometimes all at once. She teaches in the morning and she teaches in the evening. And she takes equal or greater pleasure when she studies with and learns from congregants, particularly children. She knows that anyone, anywhere, and at any time, someone might share a brilliant moment of learning, here in the synagogue, on a nature walk, or drinking coffee or tea somewhere in Fairfield County. The men of the Mishnah may not have envisioned it, but Ita Paskind is very much the ideal of the Mishnaic formulation of chaver, although, to be more grammatically precise, we should say chavera. Let us examine the second aspect of this Mishnah. Actually, it's the third aspect, but I'll review it second. Judge all men with a scale weighted in his favor. Other translation read this way: judge every person as meritorious. While less technical in its accuracy, the second phrasing, used by Sefaria.com among others, is perhaps more appealing to our honoree. In either case, I am sure you will all agree that here too, Rabbi Paskind exemplifies both the language and the spirit of the Mishnah. Rabbi Paskind is one of the least judgmental people I know, or, if you choose to frame it in positive language, she is the most non-judgmental person any of us knows. She is a willing friend, confidant, and a counselor to the youngest and oldest, to those celebrating smachot, happy life cycle events, and consoler par excellence to those experiencing difficult or grief-stricken events. She does not judge, she listens and assists, and she organizes the rest of us to help each member of the community. It is no surprise that she now leads the largest conversion class in modern history, if not the entire history of Beth El of Norwalk. She is the embodiment of looking for the best in each person. A brief note, finally, on the first portion of this Mishnah. Joshua ben Parachia and Ittai the Arbelite received from them. In what context or timeline is the Mishnah inserting these two individuals? The opening Mishnah of Tractate Pirkei Avot explains that Moses received Torah at Sinai, transmitted it to Joshua, who transmitted it to the elders to the prophets, and the prophets to the men of the great assembly, the most famous of whom were Ezra and Nehemiah. From those men, always men. The transmission of Torah continues through generations, including, but not ending with Yehoshua ben Parachia and Ittai from Arbel. Down the line, the transmission continues, including the famous Hillel and Shammai, etc., etc., etc. The point, of course, is that Torah is continuously transmitted from generation to generation. At each and every stop on the way, in the text of the Mishnah, the new rabbi simultaneously upholds the tradition and innovates his way to interpreting text or previous teachings. Since 2015, we here at Congregation Beth El, indeed all of Norwalk, including the Norwalk Fire Commission, where Rabbi Paskind was installed at the beginning of the year, certainly all of Fairfield County, and I would submit all of Klal Yisrael, the entire Jewish community, has benefited from the great mazal, the great fortune that Rabbeinu Umoratenu, Harav Ita Meira bat Harav Leib Vilea, Rabbi Ita Paskind, established herself in the never-ending chain of rabbinic leadership, serving, above all, as our teacher and friend. Fellow congregants, distinguished guests, it is my great pleasure and high honor to welcome our honoree, Rabbi Ita Paskind.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, David. I'm going to lower the microphone. I noticed there were a lot of men standing up here, so I'm glad to represent a different gender. That's right. Oh, well, in thinking about this evening, I've been reflecting a lot on the last 9 years here. And I have some distinct memories from my interview Shabbat. Many of you were here that weekend. It was January 2015. Raise your hand if you were here that Shabbat. Oh, yeah. Senator Blumenthal, you missed that one? Come on now. All right, well, here are some things that I remember from that weekend. Number one, there was an ice storm on Sunday morning, and yet Reva Silverman, where's Reva? There you are. Hey, Reva Silverman made it her business to trek out in the ice storm to pick me up from the Norwalk Inn and bring me to Minion. We had to make it to Minion, and I think indeed there were 10 people here, so that was great. Second memory, in meeting a whole lot of new people on that Shabbat, my brain incorrectly paired Steve Stein with Laura Sugarman and Linda Stein with Jim Sugarman. So you can imagine my surprise when I moved here 6 months later and then re-met everybody. That really stands out too. And then here's a serious memory. I remember very clearly that the leadership of our congregation at that time, many of whom are still leaders here, seriously and proudly told me that Congregation Beth El of Norwalk prides itself on keeping rabbis for a very long time. I was young and I was independent. I didn't have kids yet, and the longest that I'd ever lived in a single place as an adult was at my last congregation, where I lived for 5 years. The thought of committing to a new place, to people that I didn't really know yet, and for a long time, however long you expected long to be, was kind of a lot. And here we are, 9 years later, for me and for all of us, celebrating 90 years of our awesome shul together. I think we need to give another round of applause for that video. Over these 9 years, I've heard many, many stories about the founding of our congregation, about the establishment of the Navasky Religious School and the Nitzan Nursery School, stories about unique and special individuals, many of whom were highlighted in what we just saw, both members of the congregation and members of the clergy. Through these stories, and then of course throughout my own interactions with you over 9 years, I've come to understand the values of our community. Here's what I know to be true. We value the friendships that we've made and deepened here at Congregation Beth El. We are extremely proud of the collaboration between clergy and lay leaders, especially when it comes to leading our congregation in prayer, and especially on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the high holidays. We are proud pioneers in egalitarian conservative Judaism, starting with Cantor Debbie and never looking back. We see our community as an extended family, and our shul, our synagogue, as a second home, and we warmly open our doors to whoever would like to come through them. And it's impossible to imagine a milestone, the birth of a child, a bar mitzvah, a wedding, or a death, without the embrace of our shul family. I have really been blessed to experience all of this firsthand, especially as I welcomed first Noah and then Ayala into my family, plus a whole host of au pairs. You guys have been so good about that. This community has been gracious and supportive when I've needed wiggle room in my schedule, and most importantly, you are a huge and loving part of my children's childhood, and I will always be grateful for that. To all of these long-standing values that we all share, I have been working over these years with your support to open the doors of our congregation ever wider. Our community is wonderfully poised to embrace more individuals and families from the LGBTQ+ community. And as I spoke about on Yom Kippur this year, we have the obligation, the privilege, and the opportunity to welcome more and more interfaith families into our congregation. And I will continue to foster relationships and Jewish connections among the young adult population here in Norwalk and among families with young children. As our congregation enters its amazing next decade, I know that we will sparkle even more with the addition of all of these families and individuals. Now, as David correctly pointed out, this is not a bat mitzvah speech, but I must express some gratitude to some people. First, to the 2024 Gala and Auction Committees. Thank you for putting on this beautiful evening, the auction online. And it looks amazing in the social hall. It's going to be so great to go in there in a couple of minutes. And as soon as I'm done talking, everybody, you must take out your devices. It's not Shabbat. You should use your phone. Go to the the auction website, and go shopping. Was that Hillary? That was Hillary. Thank you to the presidents with whom I've served, Sharon DeFala, David Hirschfield, and Keith Satter. It has been a joy to collaborate with each of you in leading this congregation. Of course, now they have to go to the bathroom. That's what happens. Open bar, big glasses of water. To the professional staff of our congregation, to Jody Deach, to Hope Levinson, Amy Santa Lucia, David Goldstein, as well as all of the school directors I've worked with, Al Tridell, Danielle Middleman, and Lisa Gittleman-Udi. Thank you for your collegiality and your friendship as we care for this community and teach the youngest members of our community to love being Jewish. To my parents, whom all of you have gotten to know quite well by now, who schlep here for every holiday and every other Shabbat to take care of my kids while I'm here at work. Thank you. And finally, you could give them a round of applause. I have one more, and then you can give a big round of applause, okay? Finally, this thank you is to all of you for entrusting me to be the rabbi of this very special place with your spiritual lives. I'm so glad to be marking this milestone with all of you. This is officially the longest place where I have ever lived as an adult, and I am thrilled to be on track for the rabbinic longevity that you anticipated 9 years ago. Thank you so much for this honor.
All right, that's it. One quick reminder. The Attorney General as your personal chef will be available until 5 p.m. tomorrow, along with all of the other amazing items that are still available. So please bid, and please move into the social hall for more revelry. Thank you, everyone.